Yo, Boop, tell them the boxing source dealing with them. Easy, JBZ, I represent, you know. Mr. Killer say, yo, this is the biggest and the baddest association. You don't know, once you're associated with JBZ, everything easy. You don't know, big up the boxing source. Mr. Killer representing for Landry. Bang.
Yo, what's going on? This video is titled Bob Arum offers Shawn Porter $1 million. Is it right? Is it wrong? Or is it expected? Now, this comes from the recent news about a potential fight between Shawn Porter and Terence Crawford for the WBO welterweight title. Now, this has basically been talked about for, I would say up to 10 months. As, you know, the question was posed to Shawn Porter 10 months ago. In reference to a potential fight with the WBO welterweight champion and Terence Crawford and the relationship that both Terence Crawford and Shawn Porter have. And he said back then, he's like, look, even though we have a relationship, we have some type of friendship, hey, sometimes business is business. And if the time comes when, you know, we may potentially fight, then hey, I'm willing to do that. And he did, you know, kind of like expound on that on his podcast in the past. And also, like I said, with his conversation on the Last Stand podcast with Brian Custer, where he kind of like, you know, described, you know, a potential fight between him and Terence Crawford from a historical perspective. Now, it has been revisited on his podcast, which was taking place live yesterday, and I wanted to see if I could get this audio snippet as to Shawn Porter's reaction to the offer by Bob Arum in Top Rank for $1 million. So let's see if we can run that here real quick.
Let's get the elephant in the room addressed. So the number one question in multiple forms and varieties and everything is you and Terence Crawford. People want to know why you haven't initiated the mandatory status, what's going on. The rumor is $1 million. Would you take $1 million? So I think just an update on that situation from you might be helpful.
Not taking $1 million.
Okay, fair enough.
I did the best I could to send a message to Bob Arum, and I also know people who know Bob, and I told them, tell Mr. Arum, I don't mean any disrespect, and I know that he doesn't. You're gonna lowball me, and don't do it. If you feel that that's the way you get out of fighting me, that's weak. Don't do it. However, if you want to make the fight happen, don't lowball me. I'm worth more than $1 million. $1 million. I'm gonna keep it as clean as possible, but I'm not fighting Terence Crawford for $1 million. This is gonna be Fight of the Year, or definitely a candidate for Fight of the Year. There's no doubt. I know who I am and I know what I can do. Beyond that, I spoke to my dad just on Wednesday, and I said, "Hey, have you talked to AH?" And he says, "No, we haven't talked in a little bit." I says, "Have you thought about anything as far as the mandatories are concerned? Do you know about activating these clauses that I've been seeing in the news?" And he says, "No, I don't know about that. Let me give him a call." So that was Wednesday. On Wednesday, I told him, I expressed.
And there you go. He kind of like talks about his situation there as a WBO #1 contender. It hasn't been made official that he would be named the mandatory challenger for the WBO welterweight championship. But like he said $1 million, like he told Bob Arum, and he told those close to Bob Arum, I'm not fighting Terence Crawford for $1 million. And it pretty much makes sense. I mean, come on, you had him going up against, you know, Errol Spence Jr. for $2 million. People want to bring up, hey, listen, he got that $2 million because he was the WBC champion, right? But here's the thing. Terence Crawford has faced Kell Brook and Amir Khan. Neither one of those fighters held a world title, but they were both given more than $2 million, basically. You know, you had Amir Khan. I mean, even though that Crawford Khan thing was a pay-per-view, that base, purse there was kind of like, $5 million? Around $5 million, right? So you have, Amir Khan getting like $5 million, and the thing with Kell Brookwood was taking $2 million for his fight against Terence Crawford, and that was through The Athletic, as far as like that report there. So if you have Terence Crawford getting like a minimum, like around $4 million or $3.5 to $4 million, then having Shawn Porter taking $1 million for that fight is not that good at all, when he most likely gets $1 million for fights outside of fighting the likes of Errol Spence Jr. or something like that. So I think that, if they're going to like actually send offers to Shawn Porter, if this fight is going to be ordered, because it hasn't really been ordered yet. Once it is ordered by the WBO, then they have to go into negotiations, official negotiations. And if it does not go through, then it will go to purse bid. And in the purse bid for the WBO title, the split is 75% to 25% towards the champion. Now, I feel like if they do order this fight, that will likely go to purse bid. Now, with that being said, will that bid take place and maybe a representative from Premier Boxing Champions or Al Heyman or Heyman Boxing ends up winning that bid? Now, will the fight take place with that 75-25 split? Because if that's the case, then you would have something to the level of $3 million for, just for an example, $3 million for Crawford, $1 million for Porter. That would be 75-25. Or, it would be something like $6 million for Crawford, and $2 million for Porter. So if the WBO does go ahead and order that fight, then it will be some real interesting negotiations, given that you've already had in defenses in the past with Terence Crawford that he paid $2 million for Kell Brook when he got paid $4 million. And this is with Bob Arum. So Bob Arum said, hey, listen, I got Terence Crawford and he got $4 million to fight Kell Brook. But even with that, I done spent $6 million for that fight, and I'm not making any money with Terence Crawford. I could buy a house. I could buy 5 houses for as much money as I spent with Terence Crawford. And we haven't really seen much progress between Top Rank and Bob Arum and Terence Crawford ever since then. So like I said, when we go into 2021 and we see what the potential next defense of Terence Crawford's WBO title will be, will the WBO order that mandatory and name Shawn Porter the mandatory, and will they go into negotiations? But as stated by Shawn Porter in the Porterway podcast yesterday, he said he ain't fighting no Terence Crawford for $1 million. So let's see if the fight is ordered, one, if they will go into actual negotiations, and let's see how much money Shawn Porter gets offered for that fight against Terence Crawford. That's why I got in reference to this topic. You can go ahead and check out that podcast there, the Porterway Podcast. It's available on YouTube. As far as this channel right here, the Boxing Source YouTube channel, if you haven't subscribed already, you hit that subscribe button. You hit that notification bell whenever we get new videos coming on this channel. We would greatly appreciate that. Until next time, I'm out. Peace, folks.